It's a really special session today because we get to have legendary teacher, trainer, and writer Jon Gordon in the house. He's I think he's got over 15 New York Times best-selling books. He's been somebody I've followed for so long in my own career for guidance and inspiration and wisdom. He started off, I think his legend, as many of you might know it in the personal development world, with the energy bus, but he certainly had an incredible story before. And now, 20-some books later, he's got a new book called The One Truth out that is so phenomenal. I read the book, blew my mind, and I thought, well, the one truth ultimately is about how you start a movement. It ultimately is about how we affect change. Jon, how you doing, my friend?
Brendon, I'm doing great. I just am thankful to do this session with you. I just love you. I love your work. And I'm just so thankful you asked me to be on here to talk about the one truth. And you're right. It's all about a movement. And the movement always starts with you, right? So the one truth within you allows you to share the truth with others.
That's it. I love it. We wanted to have an extended conversation today because I feel like Jon's work is so important right now, because so much of what he teaches kind of aligns with what we talk a lot about here, about being responsible for your own energy in life, about wanting to grow, about connecting with other people, about acting courageously, about really focusing on developing yourself and listening to your internal knowing and guidance so that you can make your greatest difference in the world. And so much of that is what he teaches, what we teach, what we really believe in. And I'd love to start, Jon, a little bit with your story. For those who don't know you, I know that's a little bit cliche, but I think a lot of the truth that we need to get to today is that right now, a lot of people watching who are here with us right now in this room are struggling with mindset. And your journey, which I love, kind of started with that. So much so, your wife even told you at the time, like, hey, man, you got to get your mind right. I don't like this negativity. And sometimes it's when other people give us that boost into personal development. It happened for me too with my wife, Denise. So I would love to hear a little about your story about what led you into that mindset and into that critical moment where you felt like, I got to change, because that's the people who are here. They're in GrowthDay because they said, I got to change. I got to activate my potential. I got to get better. So what brought you to that point?
Yeah, my wife had enough of my negativity. I'd lost my job during the .com crash. And so I was crumbling from the inside out, so full of fear, stress, 2 little kids. How am I going to support them? How will I support my wife? How will I support our family? And I had all these expectations. I had these dreams. I had these goals, and they weren't being realized. And now I lose my job with a job that I thought I was going to make a fortune in because it was the .com. I had 100,000 shares. It was a very innovative company, but then it crashed like so many other companies. And now I was left with nothing, like even nothing within me, like all the goals, all the dreams, the identity tied to my performance and my outcome. So now that was crumbling. So I was crumbling, and my wife had enough of my negativity because I was blaming her. I was blaming her for why.
You were? I didn't know that part.
Oh yeah, I was blaming her for why our life wasn't what I wanted to be, why I wasn't living up to my dreams. And
and how is that manifesting? Like, what do you mean you were blaming her? Because I think a lot of people, when we get down and out, and I think a lot of people watching this know, over the last year and a half, there's been more layoffs in our own industry and in the tech industry and all around the country. So I think a lot of people have experienced that. What happens in the household that one partner blames the other? And what do you say? Like, why does that happen, do you think?
I think it's because you're trying to take the pressure off yourself and the blame off yourself, and you're just trying to put it on someone else so you feel better. And so I'm putting my anger and frustration on her instead of owning it myself. One of the key rules of the energy bus, the first rule, and this is what you're big on, is you're the driver of your bus. You choose the kind of ride it's going to be. You choose your energy. And I was choosing bad energy. I was choosing negative energy. And my wife was feeling it. And my kids were feeling it. I wasn't a good father. I wasn't a good husband. I wanted to be so much better than I was. And when my wife gave me that ultimatum, like the conversation went like this: I love you, but I'm not going to spend my life with someone who makes me so miserable. You need to change, or else we're over. Or we're over. Like, you better change, like now, like tomorrow. And so that was the wake up call. And you know what? I loved her. I wanted to stay married. And in that moment, I really did look in the mirror, and I was like, wow, who are you? I didn't like who I had become. I didn't like the negativity that I was living with. And I was depressed, and I was down, and I was scared, and I was frustrated, like so many people who are struggling right now. ESPN just did a whole bunch of layoffs. some of my good friends literally just lost their jobs that they thought they were going to have for another 10, 20 years. And now what? And then I remember the Great Recession when everyone was losing their jobs during that time. And I went through my challenging time about 4 years before the Great Recession. And so even when the pandemic hit, people were struggling with a lot of anxiety and fear and stress, and still are. And so that was my journey. Like, I was depressed, I was down, I was out. And so that began my story of going, okay, I want to be a more positive person. But I also asked, what am I born to do? So it was during that moment when I said, like, who do I want to become? Who do I want to be? Like, this is a fresh start. Like, you've lost everything. Pretty much you are nothing at this moment. Like, what is it that you want to become and what can you be? And in that moment, I'll never forget, like, I cried out. I asked, why am I so miserable? What am I here to do? And I heard, you're miserable because you're not living with purpose and you're focusing on yourself. And so I was so focused on self, I was miserable. And then the other thought was, you're here to write and speak. What? Write and speak? Yep. And that is literally what came to me. And I realized in that moment, I wanted to encourage people the way I was encouraged. I had read books like Og Mandino's The Greatest Salesman.
Yes.
Richard Bach, Jonathan Livingston Seagull.
Yes.
And Illusions. And those little fables, like, I remember inspiring me. Ken Blanchard, the 1 Minute Manager. He was one of my heroes. Which was a fable. So I remember thinking, I want to encourage people the way those books encouraged me when I was positive, when I was going for it, when I was this young 20-something moving and shaking in Atlanta. Brendon, I had opened up a bar in Buckhead when I was 24. I started a nonprofit organization called the Phoenix Organization that raised money and volunteered for youth-focused charities. And we did the Evander
in your 20s too.
In my 20s. And I ran for city council and walked door to door to 7,000 houses to greet the voters, and lost the election, almost won, narrowly lost. But sometimes you have to lose a goal to find your destiny. So, because it was actually good that I lost the election.
Yeah. When you think about that ramp too, you know, young guy starting business, getting into, you know, community activism or politics, startup culture.com, like everything. It's so hard when everything seems going uptrend. And then one incident, some people, they get sick. They lose somebody in their family, the finances don't work out, they get laid off, or they had their goal and it completely falls apart, or they got it and they realize it's not okay. And then this slide kind of can start. It sounds like that started for you. What I love, though, in reflection, I just want to share with everybody here, is as he's going up that, and he starts that slide down, he had the blessing of somebody in his life saying to him, essentially, this is not okay. And you're not okay. And I really believe that's one of the most powerful, transformative moments. It hurts because you have to look in the mirror and size yourself up like he did. But sometimes when you give yourself that gift of, like, this part of my life, or this mentality, or this thought process, or this behavior, it's not okay. And I'm not going to do it anymore. And then you seek out transformation. I know that's why many of you are here. It's why I'm still here. It's why I do the personal development and why we connect so much, Jon, because I think that is such a critical point. I didn't mean to totally interrupt your story, but it was really hitting me as, wait, you're on a roll. Okay. You're running for city council. You're about to go get this amazing job. Like, how does it manifest into that moment of change?
And then you're about to succeed and you think you're going to be rich and you're going to be successful, and everything you've been working towards and everything you're focused on. Again, it wasn't about self-growth. It was about success. It was about money. It was about wealth. It was about all the outcomes, not the inner work that you talk about, not the inner work that I talk about, and what the one truth is all about. So I'm focusing on the outcome and the result. And then when it crashes, that really was a great moment for self-reflection, a self-introspection, and then saying, who are you? What do you want to be? And as I started to research ways to be more positive, so this was during the emerging field of positive psychology. We're talking 2001, 2002. And now I'm literally practicing some of these ideas that I'm practicing and writing about. And I started a weekly positive tip. So now I'm sharing this weekly positive tip to subscribers. I started an e-newsletter, Brendon. I think you and I are probably one of the first few people doing an e-newsletter back at that point. No one was doing that. I had 5 subscribers, my mother, my brother, my best friend from college, and they were getting that newsletter. So that weekly positive tip went out as I'm practicing these ideas. You know what I realized most of all? Like,
Yeah.
I've been on a quest to get better myself. My journey has been, how do I get better? And then it's been a quest to say, how can I help others get better? Because one thing I did, and I know we want to be practical, I started a weekly, well, actually a daily gratitude walk where every day I would walk and practice gratitude, because I read you can't be stressed and thankful at the same time. So if you're feeling grateful, you can't be stressed. So I'm like, okay, I'm feeling stressed all the time. I have this angst in my heart, my stomach. I have this pit that I just can't get rid of. And I start taking this walk every day and practicing gratitude. And what the research shows is you're flooding your brain with positive emotions in your body that uplift you, that encourage you, instead of all the stress hormones that slowly drain you. So doing that day in and day out, literally within a week, started to have an impact on me, and my wife noticed. Within a month, it was like, wow, you're really doing so much better. That one practice that I started to do, a thank you walk is what I called it,
Love it.
changed my life. People say, well, what do? While you're walking, you just start with gratitude, with small things in your life. I'm thankful I can walk. I'm thankful for this ground that I can walk on. I'm thankful for the grass that's growing next to me as I'm walking. You start to say gratitude for the little things, and then you start to be thankful for the bigger things. I'm thankful for my wife. I'm thankful for my kids, that my kids are healthy. And as I'm doing that walk, you're now feeling a whole lot better, instead of thinking about every stressful thing in your life that is draining you and over time slowly killing you.
It's so important and so simple, because listen, it's taking the gratitude journaling idea and it's mobilizing it with movement. It's saying, hey, let's walk. Let's condition our mind and our body to think and move together. Because I think a lot of people are so out of alignment between mind and body. And something sort of magical happens. Because I have so many people say, why gratitude journal didn't make any difference? I'm like, try doing moving. Yes. Because now this mind and body kind of come together in this different energy, in this different field, in this different intention. And you're breathing deeper, which is oxygenating your brain. Your prefrontal cortex lights up different, but so does now your cerebellum. So you're getting this ping pong back and forth of good vibes in the brain. Especially I think what a lot of people need to do, we did so good in the pandemic of teaching people one part of personal development, which was how to empty your mind. A lot of conversation about meditation. A lot of conversation about, learning to let go of stress. But we equally have to guide and condition and input real thought patterns into our brain that kind of rewrite the negative storylines and kind of put us back in director's chair. So sometimes just commanding that gratitude, as you know, my mentor was Wayne Dyer, and he talked about how when he woke up, the first thing, when he put his feet over and when his feet touched the ground out of bed, he would say, thank you, thank you, thank you. His first 3 phrases of the day were thank you. And I just think starting your morning that way is so critical.
And then ending your day with a success journal was key for me as well. At the end of the day, I would write down my success of the day. What was the one great thing that happened that day? Not all the things that went wrong, but the one thing that went right. And literally doing that, you go to bed every night feeling like a success. And if you have kids, by the way, this is great for your kids. They will go to bed every night feeling like a success, and so will you. And then you wake up in the morning and now you feel like a success. Now you're looking forward to life. You're taking on the day instead of retreating from it. And you're actually now looking for the success that day. So you're programming your mind, your soul, and your brain to actually now look for the successes. And as you know, what we look for, we find. If we want to look for the failures, we'll find them. If we want to look for the mistakes, we'll find them. But if you start looking for the successes, you will find more and more of them. And that was a huge thing for me as well. And it's funny because I started doing this with my kids as they got older. And at first, my daughter didn't know what a success was. She's like, I didn't beat my brother up today. I'm like, no, that's not a success.
But that's a win, but maybe not the overall success.
Yeah, it's a win. It's a good thing. And then we got into the successes, and now they still remember it to this day. And I really believe it builds confidence in you and confidence in kids.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.